When I write in a journal, I allow the silence to fill the room. It provides me the space to reflect and begin at the back of my mind. That led me to writing a quote: "Seek to understand your mistakes so that you may never repeat them." That led me to think that no matter the repeated mistakes that I do in life, I can always try to be better. I can always try to do more than just the same old destructive habits that hold me back. Because I realize is that when you try, you're at least 50% ahead of everyone else. And when you try, it's about commitment. You're committing yourself to something. You're telling yourself that you want to change and you will make it your mark in changing your character. Staying committed is difficult, but worth the change. And I believe that commitment is about sacrifice. If you aren't going to sacrifice what's no longer needed, how are you going to stay committed to what you want? The reason why I believe the young adults of this generation aren't committed is because they're encased in the artificial world. They're led astray by the allures of social media, and they're extremely centered around the artificial world that they forget about the natural world. And because of this, it leads to a sort of non-commitment, thinking that they should emulate the next popular person on social media or the next political figure they should laugh at. This lack of commitment, it makes young adults lose their sense of self. And it can be difficult to reconnect in the natural world. Being a part of the natural world is a form of commitment, I believe. And what I mean by that is that it means integrating and accepting yourself as you are in the present. By accepting yourself in the present moment, you are committing yourself to see the beauty of the natural world, which is yourself. You are a part of the natural world, and committing yourself to developing your character is beautiful. But that leads to another question. How do you accept yourself? When you're repeating the same mistakes, habits, ways of thinking that hold you back and make you complacent, it can be difficult to accept yourself and feel like you can never change. Feel like you're stuck and you'll never be able to grow and fly high. I'll take myself as an example. I have a hard time accepting myself when it comes to my sense of self-control. I have a hard time recognizing the same virtues that others see me in, because all I can see is just the vices, the negatives, the sins, the hidden away qualities that no one sees. And I only focus on those. I feel like I'm not worthy of the recognition that I gain. I feel like I'm not putting in enough work, discipline, and showing enough virtue when I look in the mirror and thinking, it's just a facade that I'm putting on. I don't feel like myself. I don't feel worthy. The only way I can accept myself, flaws and all, is by staying silent and writing. By being deep in my mind and jotting down on paper how I feel. That's when my full self comes out. That is where I begin to see the high qualities that I recognize, that other people recognize within me. I know there are people who are intellectually wiser than me. I know that there are people who are physically stronger than me. I know that there are people who are more spiritually healthier than me. By writing without comparisons and without judgment, I come to learn that my strengths and weaknesses define who I am. By knowing what my weaknesses are, I focus on the strengths. And by focusing on the strengths, they push out the higher qualities to other people, which captivates them into liking me, into knowing what my personal interests are. And for me to write down my personal feelings and my philosophies, I come to understand that my weaknesses are also part of my highest qualities. And by understanding what my weaknesses are and why they are present within myself, I come to accept myself more. and seeing the positive signs that other people see within myself. It's best to love yourself and not reject the parts that you hold negative. It reminds me of a quote that I read back in a book. The lotus flower blooms most beautifully from the deepest and thickest mud. And that got me thinking that we're all different, but we're all the same. We all like to project our high qualities to each other and hide away our negative qualities. We like to think that the whole world will not focus on the negatives and only show us the positives, but in reality, that's not how it works. In the natural world, it shows the beauty and the ugly. We have to accept the beautiful parts of ourselves as well as the ugly part of ourselves if we were to be part of the natural world. And that's one problem the artificial world has, and that's only showing the beautiful parts, the parts that we want to see. It is important to know that accepting yourself, it's a progressive story. It's a continuation of self-growth, acceptance, forgiveness, and love. And that understanding yourself is a passionate act. And every time that you do a passionate act, that solidifies your character. And once that character is solidified, that's when you begin moving your character into the person you want to be. Allow yourself to enjoy life, regardless of how simple and quiet a life you may live. Accept yourself, flaws and all. Understand yourself. Integrate the parts that you are afraid to accept. Build deep connections with yourself. Find out what your strengths are and emulate them to the max. And enjoy the progress you have made so far on your journey, on your development. Because the more that you accept yourself, the easier the journey becomes. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video.